Welcome to What the Health? Where anything health is fair game as we tackle the trends and bust the myths about health and wellness. Here are your hosts, Dr. Dan and Angela Toro.
And welcome to another episode of What the Health. I am Dr. Dan here with my co-host,
Angela. Welcome back, guys. I'll get this out of the way. As you know, at this point, we are here for informational purposes only. This is a discussion about health. We are in no way offering individualized medical advice. Always talk to your trusted healthcare provider before making changes to your specific health routine.
And with that being said, we are going to discuss, I consider myself a bit of an expert on this topic because I've been doing it for more than a third of my life. So what are we going to be talking about today?
I hope you've been doing it more than a third of your life. Oh, I see what you're saying. We are talking about the secret of sound sleep. So I was like, I hope you've been doing it every day for your whole life.
Well, 8 hours out of a 24-hour period.
I got you. So probably no secret that sleep is important, but it's also no secret that it seems to be the first thing to get sacrificed when it comes down to trying to keep up with our crazy lives and the we talk about this all the time, the kind of ever going momentum of the world that we live in now.
The hamster wheel.
The hamster wheel, exactly. But sleep is something actually that I talk with people a lot because I'll have people coming in and, they're like, well, I'm doing everything right. I'm changing my diet, I'm exercising, I'm not getting the results that I want. And it tends to be one of two things. And those two things tend to go hand in hand, which is they're still dealing with a lot of chronic unresolved stress, or they're not sleeping well, not sleeping enough.
Now, real quick and we'll get into this more in a little bit, but when you say chronic unresolved stress, are you talking about mental, emotional, biochemical, physical?
Yes.
That's what I figured.
Yes. So, and honestly, it's, I tell people you could be doing everything right, but if you are not giving your body that time to rest and recover and heal, and all of these things are happening during sleep, during good quality sleep, ultimately at the end of the day, it's going to be an uphill battle against what's going on a physiological level. So sleep is absolutely crucial. It truly is, we are not robots. We can't just power down. Would be great, wouldn't it?
Plug in for 20 minutes and then be ready to go.
We're not computers. We can't just, plug the charger in whenever we want throughout the day because it's a little bit low.
It reminds me of the movie Elf where, what's his name? Buddy the Elf. He's like, he was getting up in the morning and, he had done all of this decoration in the house and his adopted parents. And they're like, did you sleep at all last night? He's like, oh yeah, I got a full 40 minutes.
Yeah. And honestly, and that's what some people try to do, and they try to function on that. And, but ultimately sleep, whether you feel recovered or not in the morning, that's, there's some other things that could be going on there, but your body needs that time to recharge. That is essentially your body's time of getting plugged in and recovering. Especially when it comes to muscle repair and then to brain. So you have two phases of sleep, your REM and your non-REM, and both are important. The REM is essentially where your mind is kind of that's we think of the active, the dreaming phase. So your mind's very active, but there's a lot again of recovery that's happening there. But then in that non-REM phase where your mind is really truly turned off, deep sleep. Yes, that is where your body can now actually recover, and it's so important. If you're talking about injuries, if you're talking about illness, your body needs that deep healing recovery time. If you're an athlete, that is absolutely crucial. Your training, your exercise, your training is a breakdown period. You're breaking down your muscles. We talk about this in our exercise progression podcast, so check that out if you're more interested in that. But exercise is essentially a breakdown period. Where you actually get stronger is by the recovery, by your muscles then healing and recovering and getting stronger and getting bigger. And that all happens during that sleep time, during that deep sleep. So if you're, pushing and sacrificing your sleep for your training, ultimately it's not going to have the same results that you're really looking for.
Well, that's it. I mean, you talk about from the physical aspect there, but also the biochemical and your immune system. It's like your immune system recovers through the sleep period. And so, strengthening that immune system, people who deprive themselves of sleep, okay, you can get away with maybe, 1 night poor sleep, 2 nights poor sleep, but you start going longer than that, and you are really dampening, your ability to fight viruses that are, everywhere in our environment.
I can almost call it when I'm going to get sick. Yeah. Like when I'm coming off, I can tell, like, usually by day 4, I'm like, okay, if I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm gonna, because again, we're around people all day, every day. We are exposed to stuff all day, every day. So it's a matter of, I'm like, I can feel it. And I think last night was that for me. I'm like, my body knew you need sleep tonight or tomorrow you're done. And I woke up this morning. I slept well, and I woke up and I'm like, okay, that little tickle in my throat that was there yesterday, gone. Just feeling a little bit more relaxed, a little more energized than I had been the past couple days. So
we talked about it in another podcast in terms of listening to the body. And I remember last week I had a week.
we were supposed to do this last week.
Yeah, right? I was just so lethargic last week, and I could not pinpoint it. And the only thing that it really came down to was I think my body was fighting off a virus. And, it's just subclinical, it's not like you're testing for anything, but it's just like you feel, I was just completely wiped, and I hadn't felt that tired in a long time. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I think over the weekend I slept, I took 2 days back to back. I took 2 3-hour naps on Saturday and Sunday. And it's like, I do nap. We'll get into that a little later in the episode, but not 3 hours. And so, listening to your body, if you do get a little bit behind and do have a couple days or a bad week where, you're just, going, sometimes taking the weekend or, hey, calling off a day of work or something, like, because you need to recover, will go a long way rather than pushing through. Because those are the cases, right, where you get like, okay, I'm just going to keep pushing. And it's like, okay, you get sick, and then
you get sicker,
and then maybe you feel a little bit better, but then it's like it's just a ongoing cycle of this. You never fully recover from whatever illness your body is fighting because you're constantly in the state of immune suppression.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, there's a reason you feel tired when you're sick. That's that is your body telling you what it needs.
Lay down.
Yeah, there's a reason, same reason that you kind of crave soup and things like that. Your body's telling you, like, I want fluids. I want, I don't want I don't need a big heavy meal.
Salts, minerals.
Yeah, the salts, minerals. Yeah. So it's like, listen to that. If you were extremely exhausted, instead of, chugging your 5th energy drink of the day, try sleep. And like you said with the naps, absolutely. I mean, if it's, I'll find those times where there's times I'm like, I'm going to lay down and see what happens. And there's times where I'm like, okay, I've laid here for an hour and I'm going to get back up. And there's times where it's, my alarm's going off 3 hours later. I'm like, what happened?
Where am I?
I was like, okay, obviously I needed that. Yes. So giving your body that, that opportunity to do that, because ultimately, like you said, we all have poor nights of sleep here and there. We all have those weeks where just, things are crazy. Yes.
Yeah.
So, in the short term, sleep deprivation is going to make you feel tired, lethargic. It's going to affect your, your ability to concentrate. Yeah. So, people talk about driving sleep deprived is equivalent to driving drunk. And that's really important, especially if you're in a job where you do a lot of driving. And unfortunately, those are sometimes the jobs that aren't getting a lot of time to get good quality sleep. Yeah. So you really want to make sure that, if you're driving for a living or, driving, you're a parent driving your kids around, you really want to make sure that you're not sacrificing that sleep. And I know it's hard to find the time when you're, working a weird schedule or working around kids' schedules, but that not even chronic, short-term sleep deprivation can really affect you cognitively. Yeah. So you really want to make sure that you're being aware of that. If you do have to drive, and you haven't had a great night's sleep, if you have somebody to swap off regularly, take breaks, make sure that you're, not getting stuck in that, kind of long zoned out period, because it really can, it can hit you like that.
Yeah. Especially at night too.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, all of a sudden, and you hear it all the time, people fall asleep at the wheel and I don't know what happened. And it's like, well, your body decided this is what it needed. And that's, unfortunately, just it happens. And it affects your ability to concentrate. So same thing. It's such a catch-22 because, people stress all the time. Think of students studying for tests and exams, or adults were preparing for a big presentation or something at work. So what do? You stay up all night preparing. Well, that's probably one of the worst things you could do, because then you're going to be less kind of cognitively prepared the next day. So I remember in college, people would be pulling all-nighters. I'm like, I'm going to bed. Like, what? I'm going to bed. Because I have never been able to pull an all-nighter. My body, I do not function without sleep. Yes, I know. Sorry.
No, we had a couple big, we would have a couple big exams in chiropractic school. I never did it in undergrad, but graduate school, it was, there would be nights when it was like, okay, 9 o'clock, the pot of coffee is going on, and it's like we are planning to stay up, until we, pack the information. Yeah. Now, again, we always did, we would find time like, okay, we would hit that 2, 3 a.m. and it's like, nope, I got to go lay down for 6 hours. And,
because again, that's the time where all that information you packed in actually gets stored as memories. So
absolutely. So let's talk. So those are the bad examples of of our sleep disturbances or disorders. So let's talk about, what does healthy sleep actually look like? What do we have to do to achieve healthy sleep? How do we define healthy sleep?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like, and again, you'll hear people be like, oh, I can function on X amount, Y amount. Yeah, but it seems like 7 to 9 seems to be, that's been pretty consistent across in the literature. Yeah, so you hear 8 hours, and that's where that number comes from. Is that 7? And we're talking about adults, because kids way more. Way. And that's a whole nother issue where I don't think kids are getting nearly enough sleep anymore, and that could be a whole nother. That could be a whole nother podcast.
Well, yeah, there's actually, there's some schools across the nation that are pushing for elementary schools to, go later, start more like during a high school, time, or even high school students to start later. It's the other way around, because elementary school does start a little bit later, but allowing them to sleep in. But then, then the argument always is, well, those high school students, they're just going to stay up later, right? So, again, that's just getting into the whole parenting thing, a whole nother topic there.
So for adults,
7 to 9 hours for adults, that's pretty typical. I was, looking up really quick the difference between men and women, because interestingly enough, it does seem like once you get into like your 30s and 40s, men on average tend to need a little bit less sleep compared to women, which I think is very interesting. But I think this is just from experience, from clinical experience of talking to my patients. I think on average, I feel like women have a harder time going to sleep and staying asleep than men. Now, again, I have seen both. Men and women struggle significantly with sleep, depending on a case-by-case basis. But I do think on average, I think women tend to have a harder time going to sleep, staying asleep. I think a lot of it has to do with the overburden. The prefrontal cortex,
the overburdened caregiver,
mind, the checklist, the never-ending checklist, to-do list, and did I take care of it? Did I turn the coffee pot off?
Did I start the dishwasher?
I do. Did I get that project done for work? I could have added this or this. It's like, shut it off. So,
trust me, we wish we could.
I know. Again, as a man, I am very grateful that I have the ability to close it down, and I always I half jokingly say to my wife, if our kids' health and long-term stability was dependent on my lack of sleep, they would not have survived to this point. So thank God my wife can handle a lack of sleep much better than I can, because my body, I think much like you say, like, you can't handle.
We're tired people.
Yeah, we're tired people.
You remember that one?
We're tired people. Was that from our father?
Yeah. We had gone to church one morning on Sunday morning. Come home, he's napping on the couch, and Mom, like, what? How you have been awake for 2 hours? How are you possibly to the point that you need a nap? We're a tired people. And
we're all of us sleeping, or just him?
And I think about that all the time, because It's very true.
Yeah, see, I'm the type of person that I can just shut it down anywhere, anytime. It could be late morning, early afternoon. It's bedtime, whatever, and it's like, okay, head's on the pillow, I'm done.
But for the average person, so that's 7 to 9 hours. So to best, and again, everyone's going to be different, but there are certain things that are going to be beneficial for everybody to help maintain that. And one of the biggest things we hear about is maintaining a routine, a sleep-wake routine, which is probably honestly one of the hardest in this, because the 9 to 5 doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just we live in this sort of kind of 24-hour world. A lot of people are working with people in different parts of the world or working different shifts. But ultimately, the best you can do with going to bed the same time every night, waking up the same time.
Yeah, and within an hour. Within an hour, they say, So it's like if your consistent bedtime is 10 o'clock, within an hour plus or minus, that should be that should be the time. And again, if you get into a routine of that, your body will tell you, okay, it's time that, we're starting to shut things down. Maybe you're watching a little TV. We'll get into that in a minute. But maybe you're reading or watching a little TV, and it's like you find yourself, it's time to shut it off and and lay down. And some people continue to try and read or continue to keep the TV on, and it's like, just shut it off.
And with maintain a routine, I talk with people a lot too. That doesn't just mean the time you go to bed, but what you're doing leading up to that time. Yep. So again, making sure you're kind of having, we think about brushing teeth before bed. That's kind of part of that bedtime routine. The more of a routine you can have at night, the more it's mentally preparing your body and your mind that, okay, it's bedtime. So that could be, again, kind of the hygiene part of it, brushing teeth, washing your face, showering, whatever it is you do at night as far as hygiene. And then it could be, if you do prayer or meditation, if you do, if you do like to read, making sure you're doing it at the same. So are you reading in bed, or you read on the couch and then going to bed, but kind of keeping that same routine so that your body learns, okay, we're doing, these 3-4 things, and then it's, time to shut down. And the more of that routine you can have, you think about kids, we do it with kids. Yeah. Okay, brush your teeth, then we read a story, and we go to bed. Yeah. But somehow we get to adulthood, and it's just...
Well, we feel like we have the freedom to do whatever we want.
We
it's
think,
like, well, I want to stay up.
Yeah, we go, and then go to bed. Why can't I sleep? It's like, because you didn't give yourself that wind down period. So that's, with that routine, that's really important. And then what was next on?
Well, so I think in terms of the time, you mentioned the hygiene. The other important thing in terms of just a habitual routine, but also the research is very clear on the temperature that you sleep in. And I find this significant. My sleep over, fall, winter, early spring is significantly better than summertime because I'm, I don't know about you, but I'm very anal about energy bills. And I like to not turn the yes, I like to not turn the AC on, until it is absolutely. Now I don't like humidity, and that again,
that's always
majorly impacts sleep. But again, I'm going to really push it in terms of the AC. Now that works great in the winter because I can let the house be 58, 60 degrees. Some people are like, dear God, like, what do you do? But it's like,
I was going to say, what's it probably about 60 in here right now?
Yeah. I keep the house at 60 degrees over the, when it's heat season.
I have to put it up to 63 for others in the house.
Yeah, but I keep it, and my wife calls me the heat miser, which is fine. But again, it's like, it's a lot easier to put a blanket on, but it is also very healthy when you are going to bed, that 60 to 67 degrees is pretty clear in the research that your body is much more comfortable because your body temperature naturally falls overnight. So it's going to be more comfortable with an ambient temperature lower than what it is during the day. So so that temperature is so important. Now again, I'm not advocating for us to crank up the AC in the summertime to 60 65 degrees. I can't even imagine.
That's what I keep telling my significant other. I'm like, hey, you can suffer all winter, but I'll be the one suffering in the summer. You can have it nice and toasty here, and I'll be the one complaining all summer.
Yeah, and you think about it, like if you wake up up and, you do have like too many covers on and you wake up in a sweat, like, that's a signal that your body doesn't like warmer temperatures, when it's sleeping,
That's why you do the 1 foot out.
That's right. 1 or 2 feet out.
Just the 1 foot out of the car.
Absolutely. It's that temperature regulation. But
and that kind of goes along with one of my points was it seems obvious, but to make sure that you're sleeping in a comfortable environment. So now you'll see a lot of mattresses and pillows being advertised as actually having those cooling properties. We got to try out some of them. You have a friend that works at a furniture store. And it's really amazing how far technology has come as far as mattresses. And so they actually have these ones now that kind of help, help with that balance of your body temperature. So finding, what's comfortable for you. So maybe if you and your, significant other don't agree on the room temperature, well, maybe if you're someone who runs warm like we do, if you can get a pillow that helps with the cooling or
have separate blankets.
Let them. We do double blankets in the winter because, and that's So exactly, doing what you need to do to kind of be comfortable is it seems so simple, but it really does make a big difference as far as being able to fall asleep and then stay asleep. Because if you're not in a comfortable position, you might fall asleep, but then we all have those nights where I'm pretty sure that's what happened to me. You wake up and you fell asleep in a weird position, and you're like, oh man, now I can't get back to sleep because I got a kink in my neck or shoulder. So just little things like that.
And then we have a whole podcast on sleep posture.
So check that one out for sure.
So the habitualness of the time, the temperature, and the hygiene are very, very important. But I think also one of the big things that I find, and I know you see this too, is what do I do for those people who have a difficult time falling asleep? It's because they're not physically exhausting their body throughout the day. So the exercise is so incredibly important when it comes to wearing the body out physically. And again,
and not just exercise. I would even argue physical activity.
Yes, agreed.
So,
and again, I think that I think that's one advantage. We talk about like what I do as a chiropractor. I'm on my feet all day long. I'm running around. I don't sit down. If I sit down for 5 minutes, it's wonderful. But I'm constantly running back and forth through the office, and it's like most desk job, jobs nowadays, they're in front of a computer, and we are, genetically evolved, designed to move. We're designed to be hunter-gatherers, to, be working outside in the garden, to be hunting, to be, to be out in nature, and we just don't get that level of activity anymore. So one of the first things that we always talk to people about is exercise or activity. Go be active. Go get out, especially this time of year. Now we're spring coming into summertime in a month or two. It's like, go get out in the sun. Go get out in the fresh air, especially when it's cool air. It's like, because that, you see it in children, right? They get out in the cool air, and it's like, it wipes them out. It's like, it does the same thing for adults too. It's like, go get out in the air. It makes a huge difference.
But moving your body because again, remember, sleep is that recovery phase. Well, if you never really
if you didn't push the body, it doesn't have anything to recover.
Then that could be part of the issue. Your body's like, well, I don't need to go into deep sleep. You didn't do anything. I don't need to recover. So
go do some push-ups.
There is something to, and again, with that, as far as coming with a routine, you want to be careful with doing very high strenuous activity too close to bed. So it's finding that fine line. They say within 2 hours or so. And again, I'm not saying like don't go for a walk in the evening. I'm talking about your like high intensity exercise. Because again, in the short term, it actually will increase your energy levels. So you want to make sure you give it enough time to do that, but then go into that rest recovery phase. So I think we talk about it a little bit more in the exercise one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's like just are you moving the body regularly? That's the first thing that I ask people, if they're having a hard time sleeping. Are you physically wearing your body down on a daily basis?
And I talk to people about that as far as adding that into the nighttime routine as well, doing some gentle stretching, doing some yoga, doing, something deep breathing, something physically to, again, tell the body, okay, this is time. We're getting ready for that rest and unwind time. Makes a huge difference. I mean, I know I definitely sleep better on the days that I'm busy physically running around versus the days that are more mentally taxing and less, Yeah, so absolutely finding that time to be active throughout the day, getting to the gym, getting out for a walk, doing what you need to do to be tired at the end of the day.
Yeah. So those are some things, the habitualness, the exercise, being outside, those are some things that you should be doing to establish healthy sleep patterns. But what about some things that we should be avoiding or, limiting in terms of being able to, to get into that healthy sleep state? And I think one of the biggest things that we've run into nowadays is the screen time.
Oh,
right?
We live in front of screens, and we know that blue light really directly affects your body's natural cortisol, melatonin cycle, and ultimately limiting that as much as you can throughout the day, which can mean, I used to laugh at them, those amber glasses that help cut down on the blue light, but man, they make a big difference. If you're, kind of feeling that chronic fatigue, getting headaches throughout the day, staring at a screen. And now a lot of the electronics now have the settings too that you can limit the blue light. So either having them on those low light settings or having the glasses that help cut down on that are going to help significantly, especially if you're looking at screens once it's become nighttime. Because having that contrast, I always used to, I think it was Mom that was always like, if we were watching TV in a dark room, would come in and turn a light on, and I was like, who cares? Like, there's light from the TV, and now as I've gotten, probably to the age she was then, as soon as that starts to get a little bit dark, I'm like, I have to turn a light on, because again, that real contrast of a completely dark room and then that real bright blue light is it can really affect you. Affect your eyes, affect your sleep. Yeah,
so really, screens ideally should be shut off. It's an hour or two before bedtime. But again, coming back to personal experience, some people it doesn't affect as much. Like I can, my wife and I would watch, we watch TV before bed, and it does not seem to affect our ability to fall asleep. So, so again, if you notice that is something that impacts you, then yes, turn the screen off, and definitely the phones. The phone should really be in a completely different room. A lot of people use them for alarms, but it's like they have, if you've got notifications or something set and that's dinging, it's like someone could text message you or an email comes through at all times of the night anymore. It's like that should not be disturbing you or waking you up, because every time it dings, even if you don't fully come out of a deep sleep, you might never be getting into a deep sleep because of those notifications coming through on your phone. So
set it. You can set the do not disturb settings.
Plain setting.
And again, if you're if you're a caregiver for somebody, maybe you're worried about your parents calling or you have grown kids. I get that. So you can set for certain people to be able to call. Like the calls would come through, but then you're not getting a ding every time. Or turn off the notifications. I know I turn off so I don't get dings every time I get a notification on social media or email. Just getting making sure the important things are coming through. And then again, if that can come down to finding part of your routine or finding a comfort level is, using some kind of white noise machine. Or I know I sleep better when we're at that time of year where we can have the fan on.
And windows open, the background, the cricket's going.
Yeah, so finding some kind of, white noise, because then your mind kind of can focus in on that, and then it doesn't hear every other little thing going on around you. That can really help as well. But those definitely limiting that screen time.
Yeah, and again, it's so simple. You can just type in blue light glasses. So if you are someone that's really, does seem to be impacted by the light, or you're in front of a computer all day long, you can just, again, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them anywhere nowadays, blue light glasses. And again, they tend to be a yellowish color, and what they're doing is they are reflecting the blue light, so it's only letting through, certain rays on the spectrum, the light spectrum. So you're not getting that stimulation, like the daylight, the screens definitely check that. So other things that you should be limiting, the fun ones: food, caffeine, and alcohol. We can kind of probably hit all of these at once. Caffeine, hopefully, is obvious. You shouldn't be drinking
caffeine
coffee
right before bed.
Yeah, exactly.
And even so much as afternoon for again, especially that's why I talk to people too. If they're saying they're kind of consistently having trouble falling asleep.
Yeah, when's your last cup of coffee?
And just cutting that back to noon, cutting out anything in the afternoon and seeing if that makes a difference. And most people will be like, oh yeah, wow, I noticed a big difference. So we don't think about it because in theory, caffeine, kind of peaks within an hour and is sort of out of your system within a couple hours.
Yeah.
But the effect that it has can last well past that, especially on sleep. So yeah, avoiding those stimulants too close to bed, absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely, and again, if you're having, if you're the type of person, oh yeah, I drink all my coffee before noon, but you're having 4 or 5 cups,
then yeah,
like, that can wear on. I actually read that the half-life of caffeine is 4 to 6 hours. So that means really it's only, after 6 hours, it's only halfway out of your system. So again, a lot of that has to do with other fluid intake and your activity level.
Yeah.
So just like with alcohol and other stuff, metabolically how quickly and how efficiently your body can get rid of it depends person to person. But yeah, it can last a while. So really trying to limit that amount of caffeine, very, very important. Alcohol on the flip side. Now, a lot of people think, well, wait, alcohol is a depressant drug. Yeah, I'll have a nightcap. And again, 1 or 2 drinks. We've talked about this in terms of our the blue zones and the aging and and how long people were living. And there's actually been big correlations of people who groups of people who have 1 to 2 drinks a day. They tend to live the longest, at least in terms of the research that's out there. But 1 to 2 drinks is much different than I'm going to drink 3 to 5 to pass out.
Yes.
And then what happens is either through detox, the alcohol is coming out, your liver is going through a dump. You're sweating because of the toxicity, and so you'll tend to fall asleep more quickly with alcohol, but you get a much poorer quality of sleep.
You won't go into that deep sleep.
Correct. So after 3 to 4 hours, after your body is starting to dump and detox from the alcohol, you actually, and we've all done this before, well, many people have done this before, where it's like, okay, you've had way too much to drink, you pass out, but then it's like you're up in the middle of the night and now you can't fall back to sleep. Yeah. And it's like, I don't understand. Yeah. I drink so much. I can't. Why can't I stay asleep? Well, that's because your body's literally detoxing from the alcohol. So yeah, alcohol 1 to 2, that's, for some people, great. It makes a big difference. But like, if you're drinking too many throughout the day, it has a big impact on quality of sleep.
Yeah, and even having those 1 to 2 too close to bedtime can even just affect again the quality. So just again something to consider if you're having 1 to 2 with dinner or right after dinner, and you still have a couple hours before you go to bed. You're giving your body that time to process the alcohol before you go to bed versus having that 1 or 2 going to bed, and now your body's trying to deal with all that while you're trying to fall asleep. Yeah. So again, it's giving your body that time to actually do what it needs to do. It has the ability, a healthy body, a healthy liver has the ability to process 1 to 2 drinks. You just have to give it the opportunity to do it. So,
and then it's the same thing for food then too.
Exactly.
Because, a lot of people, and again, this goes back to schedules. There are some nights that I don't get home until 8 o'clock at night.
Like last night we were eating dinner.
So I'm eating dinner, and it's like, well, you should not really, ideally, you should not eat your last bite of food. And this is dinner and snacks. Your last bite of food ideally should be 2 to 3 hours before you're ready to go to sleep. So if you're eating dinner at, if you have a bedtime at 10 o'clock, 7 o'clock should, 8 o'clock at the absolute latest should really be your cutoff for eating. And this doesn't just go to sleep, but also a huge impact on weight loss. So people who are struggling with weight, that's a whole other podcast.
That's the biggest thing I notice with, it's like when I'm really trying to monitor my weight, I have to cut out that, I have to make sure I'm cutting off my eating at a certain time.
And I think that's one of the misconceptions too, because a lot of people think like, oh yeah, you digest your food overnight. No, your digestive system really shuts down significantly overnight. So
because your body's trying to do all those other things we were talking about with the mind and the muscles and
the immune system. It's trying to work to do other things, not digest your food. So that's why it's so important that eating, cutting your eating off, taking a nice walk, before, after dinner.
And then if you are, in a situation where you have to eat later, make it a lighter meal. Make it something that's more easily digestible. So don't sit down and eat a 4-course meal 2 hours. Yeah, you shouldn't be eating, Thanksgiving dinner 2 hours before bed, because that's a lot of food to have to process versus, if you eat a night, lighter, and that's why they actually say, dinner should be your smallest meal of the day. So
and that's what, a lot of cultures, the Europeans, Indian,
your big
meals are in mid-afternoon. So yes, that very, very important with the food, and that kind of leads into some of the disorders. And I can tell you, I've struggled with this in the past, where if I notice that I'm eating too much closer, to the end of the night, reflux is one of the most acid reflux. Is it can be common throughout any time of the day, but let's say you eat a big meal. Okay, so now your stomach is bloating, and now boom, you're ready to pass out. Well, immediately you're laying down. So first of all, now gravity's working against you because, now all that food that is sitting and bloating in your stomach is pushing right back into the esophagus, the tube that goes from the mouth down to the stomach. So now you're feeling all that acid that's just sitting in there. And then again, that's uncomfortable. So if your body's uncomfortable, it's not going to get into a deep healthy sleep. So that's one of the most common things, disorders that can lead to sleep challenges as well. It just has to do with timing. A lot of times it has to do with what you're eating, but many times the timing of what you're eating. So that's big impact there in terms of food and timing of that. With that, other disorders that can lead to sleep challenges, restless leg syndrome is a big one. The tingling, the numbness, the cramping of the legs, just again literally feeling restless because your legs don't feel comfortable. Really, the research is very limited or unclear as to why it happens. Chiropractically, I know we've talked about this before, kind of like fibromyalgia. I think it's just such a lame diagnosis.
It's like we can't figure out why.
We don't know why, but your nerves are just fired up, and your nerves are excited, and you have all this mismessaging and dysfunction in your nervous system. We don't know why, so we're just going to throw, your legs can't settle down, so we're going to call it restless leg syndrome. We have seen from a chiropractic perspective, getting the spine and the nervous system to calm down, that can have a huge impact. But there can be a number of reasons why your legs won't calm down, but that has a big impact on sleep. I think many times it comes back to activity, strength, muscle memory. Are you wearing down the muscles throughout your day enough to be able to get good healthy sleep? Lack of minerals, lack of magnesium can cause restless legs. So that's another disorder, dysfunction that can cause interruptions to your sleep quality. And then a big one that people talk about a lot, sleep apnea, right? So that's literally where your body, you get into a position where, it can be the tissues in the back of the throat close down, and you're not, you literally stop breathing. Apnea is literally stopping the breathing during your sleep. So, and you hear this, it typically is very, very commonly associated with people who are overweight. And position does have an impact on it, but you'll see someone, maybe Uncle Joe or someone's in their recliner after a big meal, and it's like and they're breathing real heavy, they're snoring real heavy, and then all of a sudden it's like and then 20 seconds, and again it can be serious to where it can be 20-30 seconds to where the body is in complete arrest of breathing. And then again, your brain is not going to let you stop breathing, so it's going to force you to take a deep breath in. But the quality of those breaths are very, very poor. And then again, because of the stopping and starting and breathing, not getting into a good rhythm, that alone has a big impact on your ability to get into a good sleep cycle. So sleep apnea is a big one. There are machines. But again, everyone I've talked to that has a sleep apnea machine,
they don't seem to be big fans.
No, it's not, because you have this big mask that goes over your face. The machine is making noise.
I know they've gotten better over the years, but that's...
And there are also now smaller devices that dentists and doctors are recommending to actually like wear in the mouth to help lift your jaw a certain way or hold your tissues a certain way. Again, I haven't dove in enough to those different products to see what is working for people, what isn't. But at the end of the day, position has a big impact on sleep apnea, and again, your weight. So making sure that you are, you're trying to get to a healthy weight. Sleeping on your back versus side. If you're sleeping on your side, you have much less of a chance of the tissues of the back of the throat closing down the windpipe, versus sleeping on the back. So those are some other things in terms of the disorders that can disrupt the sleep.
Well, and it's interesting that you mention weight, because that's actually another big one that comes with sleep deprivation. So sleep it directly affects our hormone levels, and the one that people think about all the time is cortisol. So it gets deemed quote unquote the stress hormone, but also is very important with the sleep wake cycle. So essentially it's just cortisol and melatonin work hand in hand. So cortisol spikes in the morning. It's the one that makes you when you kind of feel that on those lovely occasions where you get to wake up naturally, not to the sound of the alarm you want to throw across the room. When you have that feeling where you just kind of wake up, that's the result of that cortisol spike. And then throughout the day, that's going to shift. Cortisol will come down, and it goes up and down, but ultimately it's going to start coming down throughout the day. Melatonin's going to go up. That's what makes you have that nice calming, relaxing, getting ready for bed, and then ultimately helps you sleep. So when we're chronically stressed or chronically sleep deprived, cortisol is going to be unnaturally high. And there's also a lot of the other things we talked about. The excessive screen time affects that. That's why all of these things ultimately are going to throw your sleep off.
Yeah, and they all go hand in hand.
Yeah, and then when we're sleep deprived, there's two other hormones that directly affect our hunger, which is ghrelin and leptin. Yep. Those are also going to be affected. So generally, ghrelin makes us feel hungry, and then leptin makes us feel satiated, essentially, in very simple terms. So when we're sleep deprived, ghrelin increases and leptin decreases. So essentially, we're feeling hungry all the time. And I'm sure everyone's experienced this after like a real bad night of sleep. You kind of have like the munchies all day. You don't know why. You just want to keep eating, and
your body's trying to feed itself energy, right?
Yeah,
because you're sleep deprived, so you have low energy. So now your body is, it's looking for calories, it's looking for energy.
And that's because those hormones have been disrupted. So no matter how much you eat, that leptin is still not going to come back up to tell you that you're satiated. And again, the stuff that you're craving is going to be the quick energy sources, sugar, the refined carbohydrate. You're not craving a salad on those days. You're craving that stuff that's going to give you that quick burst of energy. So those things over time, and you figure if you're in that kind of chronic state of poor sleep, chronic state of sleep deprivation, you're kind of constantly in that snacking mode. That can easily lead to overeating, excess eating. It's just going to, fuel a sugar addiction. So all of that stuff goes hand in hand. So really, again, that's why I talk to people when they're like, I'm doing everything right and I'm not losing weight. It's like, well, we got to come back to looking at ultimately, what's going on with your body, what's going on with your hormones, because if those are out of whack, you're right. You could be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and it just takes time. You can't look at, if you're coming off of this chronic state of being unhealthy, it's going to take time, and they all work together. We mentioned the diet, the exercise, and the sleep. All of them are going to help each other, and it just takes time to make sure that they're all working together and not getting frustrated, and really being conscious after a bad night's sleep, being aware, okay, I'm not really hungry, I had a bad night's sleep, stay on with my eating plan. Yep. Don't let myself fall victim to I had a poor night's sleep, so now I'm just gonna chug caffeine and eat crap all day long to keep myself going.
Yeah, and that's, again, that awareness. And you bring up a great point as to why, again, we work with people over, the long term, 6, 12, 18 months and beyond. And I always tell people when they come in, it's like, we're building a relationship. I want us to work together. And again, if we can help you get healthy, then, my hope is that you'll stick around so we help you stay healthy for the rest of your life, for you and your family. And again, that just goes so much in contradiction of, our current, sick care system, where it's like you go and you see your doctor, I have this going on, here's this medication, and you're out the door.
Yeah,
and
you don't want to have to see your doctor regularly, because that's associated with something's wrong.
Correct.
Correct. That's why we call ourselves we're wellness providers.
Truly health promoters, because we're facilitators, right? We are just helping you learn and do what is going to facilitate your body naturally getting healthy, designed to heal. That's what we.
Someone should write a book.
Someone should write a book on that. That's where we talk about this long term, because so many people, when they're coming in, it's not that they have one thing going on. They are literally, their body is the Titanic and it is heading towards the iceberg. And I tell people, I can't stop that and turn you on a dime. We have to first slow the momentum. And so a lot of times when people are starting care in our office, they might, come in for one thing, and, they, maybe a symptom or something amplifies for a little bit as their body is just starting to slow going down the path of illness. And then, so once we finally get the ship to stop, now we can put it in reverse and actually start building and regaining health and well-being. And you're right, that takes time. And so reestablishing a healthy sleep pattern, it could take 6-12 months to really get yourself into a healthy sleep routine. So don't give up on it. It's not like, I'm going to do this for 1 week and I get back on track. I mean, if you have years and years and years of poor patterns, poor unhealthy patterns, it's going to take months to recuperate. One of the easiest ways we say in the office, for every year that your body has been in a state of decline or degeneration or poor health patterning, plan for about a month of recovery. So if you've been heading down the path for 2 decades, plan on 2 years to get your body back to healthy. So, so that just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of a timeline there. So you mentioned, medications. We talked briefly about that. I'm not going to list. There's a number of medications. You can literally just Google it. Google medications that affect sleep, and if you happen to be on one of them, and you're having sleep challenges, talk to your trusted health professional and see if it's something that maybe you could tweak, or even just change the time of when you're taking it to see if it makes a difference. And finally, I want to bring this up. We mentioned it really quick. Napping. Okay. What are your thoughts on napping, Angela?
I love napping.
Me too.
Don't tell me I'm not allowed to have my naps.
It's very interesting, because again, getting prepared for this episode and everything. Again, I find myself a bit of an expert on sleep and napping, because I love to nap. I don't do it every day, but I do. I will find a couple days a week. I will take either a 20-minute. Maybe I find a time on the weekend where I'll crash for an hour and a half or 2 hours. I love it. The research is very mixed on it.
I've heard. It's like eggs.
I know, right? Eggs are healthy. Eggs are bad for you. It's the same thing, napping. But again, going back to the underlying, research on it, they find that people who nap more, some research says that you're at a higher risk of heart attack, of stroke, of these other, diseases. But again, looking at it from a holistic perspective, are those people, do they have the illness already?
Yeah, are they?
And is that illness of high blood pressure or, poor quality sleep or medication, is that causing them to have poor quality sleep? And so now they're being forced to nap throughout the day because of that poor quality sleep. So you have to, which one came first?
Exactly,
the
are
chicken
they napping
and the egg.
because they're unhealthy, or are they unhealthy?
because they're napping. Exactly. And, I would argue from a clinical experience that it's more likely that they're napping because they're already unhealthy. So the nap is the sign that unhealthiness is there, but you can look at it from the other way. If you are wearing your body down, again, you work out at a very high level, and you get up early in the morning, you work out. So by the time you hit that midday, it's like, okay, I need to rest for a little bit.
I like my siesta.
Yeah. and again, there's a lot of research on cultures that do nap that do show very improved qualities of health. They have less strokes, less heart attacks. So again, it's mixed research. I'm not going to sit here and argue, you shouldn't take a nap. I think, again, I would say that if you are getting a solid 7 to 9 hours and, you are eating healthfully, you might not feel the need for a nap. But if you do have a night or two of, maybe mixed sleep, poor quality of sleep, you might feel the need a little bit more. So,
and I think it comes down to your schedule too. Yeah. So again, I didn't used to nap when I was working a 9 to 5, but now with on our long days, it's my day is starting at 6 a.m. and go until 7 p.m. Yeah. But we have that little break over lunch, so it's like I'm not gonna make it 11 hours just go. And it's not even so much for for that. Sometimes it's just that mental. It's just that chance to literally turn off your mind for a minute, and just because again, as a woman, if I'm awake, I'm doing something. There's no just sit and relax. Yeah. So it's sometimes for me, it's just my opportunity to say, okay, this is my 20, 30 minutes to just, and I don't always fall asleep, but usually I try to use my lunch. I'll eat, and I'll always set that alarm just in case. And I'd say probably more often than not, if I let myself actually sit on the couch, I'll doze off for probably 20 minutes or so. But yeah, it is. It's just sort of that giving yourself that time to do what you need to do to have the energy to get through the rest of your day.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I'm, as a health professional, I'm not going to argue one way or another. I say if, you are feeling the need for a nap and you feel better after you take the nap, then most likely your body needed it and it is probably healthy for you. And again, you also have to consider time of it too. Yeah. If you're on a weekend taking a nap, at 4 o'clock and sleeping to 7, and that's probably going to impact your sleep. But if you're looking at like, hey, I'm going to take a nap from 1 to 2:30.
Or if you're getting home from work and napping on the couch a couple hours before bed.
Yeah, that's gonna impact it. So time and length have a big impact there. But as always, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. If any of this sounded resonated with you, or you have more questions on the topic, you can always reach us at Turo, Turo, familychiropractic.com. You can email us, you can contact us. And again, we always appreciate questions. That's one thing I think we're going to start adding to the podcast is questions, and do a question and answer session at each one, because we're getting more questions in the office of like, what about this? What about this? Mm-hmm. So we're really going to start to increase that in terms of being able to answer the questions that are out there. So with that being said,
thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Angela,
and I am Dr. Dan with another episode of What the Health.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
You've been listening to What the Health with Dr. Dan and Angela Toro, brought to you by Toro Family Chiropractic. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.whatthehealth.world.